Welcome back to the Aquarius training video series. In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to install and configure Microsoft SQL Server 2012 Express. SQL Server Express is one of the database platforms that Aquarius supports for its data storage. It is freely available from Microsoft for download from their website and is an excellent choice for small to medium-sized Aquarius deployments. Downloading and installing SQL Server is one of the tasks that you'll undertake very early in the Aquarius Server installation process, probably before you set up Aquarius Server itself. You may be installing SQL Server on the same computer as you're installing Aquarius Server onto, but they don't necessarily have to be on different machines or the same machines. If you're looking for input on how to plan your deployment in these kinds of questions, please contact the Aquarius support desk for guidance. The first step to installing SQL Server Express is to go and download it from Microsoft's website. Perhaps the easiest way to get started with this is to just Google for the SQL Server Express product. And the first link that comes up is probably the one you're going to want to click on. Now it's a little bit tricky to find the right download link here. I'm just going to show you a few things. If you expand the details section, you'll notice that it's going to give you a choice of a whole bunch of different download files. The one that you want to get most likely is this one here. This includes SQL Server 2012 Express as well as the management tools, which are really handy for maintaining your database instance going forward. So we would recommend this one. So to go ahead with the download, just click the red download button and check off this item here, 669 megabytes. We'll click next to go to the next step, and we'll just wait for this download to finish down here. When your download finishes, go ahead and execute that file. And in a few moments, the SQL Server 2012 installation wizard will appear. And you're probably going to want to choose this new standalone installation option. And accept the disclaimer or the license terms. And you can agree to install the product updates. And finally, we're at the next step of the installation wizard. For this step, just make sure that you have the Database Engine Services boxes checked and the Management Tools option checked. The others you can probably leave as a default, whatever your download kit comes with. And we'll go to the next step. Now in this step, you will probably want to choose the default instance option here if this is the only SQL Server instance you're going to be installing on this computer. I'm assuming just a brand new computer with no other instances of SQL, so this should be a safe option. And it makes things a little bit easier to configure in Aquarius Manager a little later. So I'll move to the next step. In many cases, it should be fine just to leave the service accounts as the defaults. So I'm just going to let these be and go to the next step. Now it's important in this step to change the authentication mode from Windows authentication mode to mixed mode. You may have trouble configuring Aquarius Manager to work with SQL Server later if you don't choose this mixed mode option. So be sure to set this one. You will also be required to put in a password for the SA account. You don't really need to use this when you're setting up Aquarius Server later, but it's good just to set one up that's reasonably secure and to write it down somewhere, as you may need it later. That should do for this step. I'll go to the next one, and you can probably skip all this and just go to the next step. and wait for the installation to finish. And finally, our SQL Server 2012 setup wizard is complete. So let's just close that one and close the installation window. Now, we need to do a few post-installation configuration tasks before our instance of SQL Server is ready for the next step, which is to install AQUARIUS Server. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go down to my Start menu and go All Programs, and I'll find SQL Server 2012 in the list there. And I'm going to go to the Configuration Tools folder and load up this SQL Server Configuration Manager item right here. I'm going to go to the SQL Server Network Configuration item on the panel on the left and click that Protocols line. And I'm going to make sure that all three of these protocols are set to enabled. And note that you will have to restart SQL Server after changing these. We'll get to that in just a sec. Next, I'm going to go to that TCP/IP protocol, and I'm going to right-click it and choose Properties. Just want to make sure a few things are set up here. I want to go to this IP addresses tab, and I want to make sure that I have these TCP dynamic ports and TCP port properties set properly. I want the dynamic ports to be blank for all of these items in the list, and I want the TCP port to be 1433 for all these items. So I'll just check all those here. Looks good. Okay. So finally, I'll go to the SQL Server Services item, and I'll go ahead and restart my instance of SQL Server. I'll right-click, choose Restart, wait for just a sec, and it looks like we're done. So at this point, we have a working instance of Microsoft SQL Server 2012 Express, and we're ready to move on to the next step, installing AQUARIUS Server for the first time, and then configuring it to use this database instance. This will be covered in the next few videos.